If you are looking for more educational art content, like and subscribe. In the following video, Albright College Professor of Art Kristen Woodward will lead you in a tutorial on how to cut and mat artwork. The purpose of this video is to teach you how to mat artwork for a professional setting. Mat provides an acid-free frame for a work on paper that allows it to be safely handled or stored. When framed, a mat provides necessary space between the artwork and the glass. Matting art is so important to the protection of your work, whether framed or not. It also helps add appeal and focuses the viewer's attention. You can mat digital work, prints, photographs, life drawings, and so much more. Remember that when you are submitting or sending work to a professional space, many times they will want it to be matted and framed. They care that your work looks the best it can, and so should you.
Hi, I'm Kristen Woodward, and Stephen Nicodemus and I are here today to show you how to cut a mat for a print or drawing or any work on paper. A mat is essentially a cardboard frame. It's two pieces where the artwork is attached to the inside of a hinged mat, and this allows you to safely handle the artwork without getting smudgy fingers on it, and if it's framed, it allows the glass to stay separate from the print. That way it's not making direct contact. We want to use materials that are archival. If they're archival, it means they're acid-free, they have a neutral pH, and they won't yellow over time. You can see how newspapers, even after a couple of weeks, will turn yellow, and they'll continue to deteriorate with the acid that's in the wood pulp paper. So we're using cotton paper products, and you can find them at any pretty much art or craft supply store or order them online. It's hard to tell just by looking at Matboard if it's archival. Sometimes you can see the inside has a little bit of a yellowish tone, the inside of the Matboard, but to be safe, you want to make sure you're buying from a reputable dealer and it says that it's neutral pH. So, to go about cutting a mat, we have to determine the size. That's the most important thing. And usually with prints, we want a window, this opening, to show not only the image, but the signature of the artist, the edition, the title, but you can determine how big you want that window to be. Some artists, especially with drawings, mat all the way to the edge of the work or even overlap it a little bit, so it's your call. So I have a print here where the image size is about 5 by 7. So if I look and I measure, okay, I want a little bit of extra room, so I want my window to be about 6 by 8, okay? So the other one I was going to mat doesn't need as much of a window. It's a smaller print, so in this case my window could be 5 by 7 inches. That would allow a ½ an inch all around the image. Again, that's kind of an aesthetic decision. So I don't know if you can see this right here, but I started working out how big my Matboard needs to be, and I start with the image size. So if I want my window or the hole to be 5 by 7, I add 3 inches all the way around. Okay, 3 inches all the way around is a nice size mat. I wouldn't go smaller than 2 ever. It looks kind of chintzy. And sometimes with small works, artists go even larger to kind of give the artwork its own space on the wall, especially if it's in a group show and it's competing with other larger works. So if I want my window to be 5 by 7 and I add 3 inches all the way around, that tells me I need 2 pieces of Matboard that are 11 by 13 inches. You following me, Stephen?
I am.
All right. So we have a Matcutter here in the Department of Art and Art History, and it allows us to cut a beveled edge. So a bevel is kind of an angled edge, and the reason for this is it allows the glass, if it's in a frame, to push up against it, and it doesn't cast a shadow on the artwork. It's kind of a professional look to a mat, but if you just have a utility knife or an X-Acto blade, you can still cut a mat. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out my 2 pieces that are 11 by 13. If you're using frames, you might want to pay attention to some of the standard sizes. 11 by 13 isn't as common as 11 by 14. So you could go up an inch if you really wanted to buy a pre-made frame rather than have one custom done. So here's our Matcutter. It's got 2 blades, one for a straight cut and one for the bevel. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this piece of mat board underneath here, and I'm going to align it carefully with the lines I've drawn on the back of the mat board. And I do all of my drawing on here with a sharp pencil that I can erase, and I go ahead and mark it on the back, so even if I erase it, it could leave a little smudge, but on the back it doesn't matter, okay? And I want to make sure that I'm lining it up, and then with the straight cut, it's pretty simple. I'm just pressing down on the bar, and I'm cutting through by pushing down on the blade. If you can kind of see that, I'm pushing down, cutting it through. And I usually score it a couple of times. I don't try to go all the way through in one cut. If you do that, it kind of looks chewed, like right here, because it's too much for the mat cutter to go through it in one cut. But this way, with 3 light cuts, it comes right off. So again, we're just using straight cuts, lining it up with the blade, pressing down on the bar to hold the cardboard steady, and we're going to press down and do the straight cuts. One more time. I tend to not trust this little bar down at the bottom to anchor it, because sometimes the screws can get a little wiggly, and if you line it up with the bar directly, you ensure that you're getting a nice straight cut. Okay, so I've got 2 pieces of identical mat board, and so now I have to determine where I'm going to cut the window, okay? And I have a T-square, which is really helpful to make sure I'm using straight angles, as well as a ruler that has cork on the backing. That way it doesn't slide around, so whichever you prefer. I'm going to go ahead and measure in 3 inches all the way around. And I'm going to do this a couple of times because I want to make sure that my lines align. Lines align. So you know that saying, measure twice, cut once. It's essentially what we're doing, or we're measuring 3 times. And again, I'm doing this on the back of the mat board, so I'm not going to have to worry about erasing them afterwards. Now sometimes you'll see mats have a little bit more space on the bottom. That's called weighting them. If you weight the bottom and have a little more room, that's a decision that sometimes artists make if their work is going to be hung salon style, really high up. Because when work's hung really high up, sometimes there's a distortion and the bottom looks skinny. Okay, so I've made the lines for the window, so now I can cut my bevels, okay? If I was cutting on the front of the mat board, I would cut this way, and that way the angle would be cutting down in and it would have those nice bevels. But since this is the back of the mat board, and this is the tricky part, I need to push it back here, so I'm essentially cutting the bevel backwards. Does that make sense? Stephen's nodding.
It does.
Now this is really important. I've got to press down really hard. I can see my lines. I'm working on the back. I'm going to overcut just a little bit, so when the piece comes out, it doesn't tear. So I'm going like 3 times, 2 or 3 times. Turning it. And you want to do it fairly slowly and carefully. It's not a race. Although sometimes when the deadline for the student show is coming up, it feels like a race. Okay, so it fell right out. Now I've got those nice bevels. There's a little bit of scrap mat board there. If it was rough, if my blade wasn't sharp, I could take some very, very fine sandpaper and sand those edges to make it even smoother. Okay, so now I have the top of my mat cut. That's the hard part. Now this is the fun part. We're going to put the print in there. Since my sides are all the same all around, it doesn't matter if my image is vertical or horizontal. But again, if you're going to have more weight on the bottom, you want to make sure that the image is positioned so that the bottom margin is a little bit larger. Now I'm going to align the 2 pieces of mat board, and I'm going to use acid-free masking tape, and I'm going to hinge it. I'm going to make 2 hinges. This will allow it to stay together so that if you're handling the mat, you can move it around and it'll stay contained in the frame. The reason I don't put a big tape all the way across is because with humidity and temperature changes, you could get it to buckle over time. So it's really important that the artwork and the mat stay hinged and a little bit loose to allow for that expansion and contraction of the cotton paper. So I'm now going to line up my print with the window, and I'm going to make sure that it's positioned exactly where I want it. And now I'm going to make 2 T's with my tape. The bottom part, I'm going to put tape side up, so it's taped to the back of the print, and then I'm making a T, kind of cutting across it. And that means I don't have to put tape on the front of the image, because if I ever want to take it out of this mat, I don't want to tear the actual artwork. It's bad enough if I tear the back of the paper. One more time, sticky side to the print, the T over the top, and then I have my work ready to go for the student show.
Did you find this video helpful? Are there tips and tricks that you use that help you get the perfect measurements or cuts when you do your own matting? If so, let us know in the comments below. We want this video and the comment section to serve as a source of education for all artists, both professional and aspiring. If you enjoyed learning about matting and want to see more of what Albright College Center for the Arts has to offer, then hit that thumbs up and press the subscribe button so you can view all the informational and educational content that we upload, as well as all the amazing artist lectures, gallery tours, performances, and so much more. We are sure that you will find tons of inspiration from our guests, current students, and alumni. Looking forward to seeing the work you create and mat. Bye for now.